The first one up here, Hans Schmidt. Give me a little background on Hans.
Well, Hans Schmidt, you know, there's a guy, if you ask Vern Gagne about his toughest opponent, and Greg and I were just laughing about this before we went on the air. I've had Vern tell me this personally. I've heard Vern tell this story, and Greg says he tells it to him. You ask Vern who his toughest opponent was through the years, and for some reason he always comes up with Hans Schmidt. Hans Schmidt was a journeyman wrestler before he got the German handle. He was Guy LaRose. That's how he started his career. And really in wrestling was going nowhere, middle of the card. But after World War II, and this was something that wrestling, as some of the older fans know, was so good at, playing on the emotions of the fans. After World War II, we were at war with Russia, we were at war with Germany, and we were at war with Japan. So what better to do than to have hated Russians, Germans, and Japanese villains and heels in wrestling? Many of them weren't really of that nationality. Guy LaRose was a Canadian from Montreal, but he took on the Hans Schmidt, shaved his head. He had a goose stomp, Greg, that he would do. He'd be introduced and he'd do that stomp across the ring and put his hand up long before the Baron's Claw. But Hans Schmidt just became a household name as far as the top heel, and throughout the 50s, though he didn't himself hold a lot of championships in wrestling, which some people would say, well, then he wasn't that good. Well, championships weren't the only story. It was how good you were in the ring, how much you could draw at the gate and put those butts in the seat again the second time for your match.
And he did it.
He did.
He was brutal. Vern still to this day, and I was just with him last week, still has the boot marks on his rib cage from Hans Schmidt.